Malaysia to resume deep-sea search for MH370. A grave warning to Europe amid Russia-Ukraine peace talks. Assalamualaikum, Salam Malaysia Madani. This is World Today. I'm Shuhaida Arifin. The deep-sea search for the missing wreckage of the Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 is set to resume in the southern Indian Ocean on 30th December. The Transport Ministry said Ocean Infinity has confirmed it will recommence seabed search operations for a total of 55 days conducted intermittently. The search will focus on areas assessed to have the highest probability of locating the aircraft in line with the service agreement signed between the government and Ocean Infinity on 25th March 2025. The ministry said the latest development reflects the government's continued commitment to providing closure for the families of those on board. Flight MH370, carrying 227 passengers and 12 crew members, vanished on 8 March 2014 after departing from KLIA en route to Beijing. Despite the largest search effort in aviation history, which covered over 46,000 square miles of the southern Indian Ocean, only a few fragments of the aircraft have been found scattered on beaches thousands of miles apart. The most recent search, conducted in April this year, was halted due to poor weather conditions. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned European powers on Tuesday that if they started a war with Russia, then Moscow was ready to fight, and that defeat of the European powers would be so absolute and there would be no one left to even negotiate a peace deal. The firm statement was issued as the United States envoy Steve Witkoff and President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner were in Moscow for high-profile negotiations. It was aimed at ending the Russia-Ukraine war, which has been ongoing for nearly 4 years.
Это не война в прямом современном смысле этого слова. Если Европа вдруг захочет начать с нами войну и начнет ее, то очень может быстро произойти ситуация, при которой нам не с кем будет договариваться.
Washington had submitted a 28-point draft to end the conflict. It was later amended after receiving criticism from Ukraine and European countries who described the initial draft as overly aligned with Russia's maximal demands. The plan to end the war was spearheaded by President Trump, but Europe is concerned that it would force Ukraine to yield to Russia, especially on matters related to territory. The Kremlin said no compromise has been reached on the core issue of Ukrainian territory after several hours of talks between U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner in Moscow. Senior Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov said discussions showed some U.S. proposals were possible to consider, but stressed that several formulations remain unacceptable. He confirmed that the American plan to divide it into 4 sections, all reviewed during the 5-hour meeting.
Yes, it's a magnificent city.
Да, это удивительный город.
Пока еще компромиссного варианта найдено не было, но некоторые американские наработки, они выглядят более-менее приемлемо, но их нужно обсуждать. Некоторые, вы понимаете, мы с американскими коллегами договорились, что не будем раскрывать суть состоявшихся переговоров, это вполне логично.
The meeting with President Vladimir Putin, which followed days of shuttle diplomacy from Florida to Geneva and Abu Dhabi, is part of Washington's effort to push forward a proposed plan to end the war. However, the initial U.S. outline has been viewed by European allies and Ukraine as too favorable to Russia.
Guna mental jimat tenaga untuk lebih jimat.
Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and US President Donald Trump have agreed to deepen cooperation against organized crime following a 40-minute phone call on Tuesday. According to the Brazilian presidency, Lula initiated the call, building on their first official meeting in October, which helped ease months of strained ties between Brasilia and Washington. He told Trump that the stronger bilateral coordination is needed to combat transnational criminal networks, especially as Brazil intensifies operations targeting groups operating from abroad. The conversation comes amid tensions over recent U.S. strikes on alleged drug traffickers near Venezuela, which have killed at least 83 people since September. Trump reportedly conveyed full willingness to work with Brazil. Authorities there have recently launched major crackdowns on the First Capital Command, PCC, and Comando Vermelho, two powerful groups that dominate cocaine trafficking across the region. Investigation revealed large-scale money laundering through fuel stations, digital banks, and payment apps. A day after Honduran electoral authorities stopped reporting updates to the presidential vote count because of technical problems, candidate Salvador Nasrallah of the Conservative Liberal Party had a slight edge on Tuesday over Nasri Asfura, the National Party candidate endorsed by US President Donald Trump. With votes from about 62% of polling places counted, Nasrallah had 39.94% to Asfura's 39.83%. Only about 2,000 votes separate the two conservative candidates. Rixi Moncada of the governing Democratic Socialist Libera or Liberty and Re-Foundation Party trailed with 19.17% of the vote. The website Honduran electoral authorities set up to share vote tallies experienced technical problems that caused it to crash and leave the public in the dark about the extremely close presidential and other contests, according to the National Electoral Council on Tuesday. When the site went down, only 515 votes separated leader Asfura from Nasrallah. Either of the two top candidates are from the Liberal Party of incumbent President Xiomara Castro, though Nasrallah has been both a rival and ally, serving for a couple years as her vice president. Venezuela's National Assembly moved on Tuesday to repeal the country's domestic law ratifying the Rome Statute. The move comes as the government of Nicolas Maduro faces an ongoing International Criminal Court investigation for alleged crimes against humanity. Earlier, ICC prosecutors decided to close its office in Caracas, citing a lack of real progress in the case linked to the deadly 2017 protests. Presenting the proposal, ruling party lawmaker Roy Daza underscored Venezuela's insistence on safeguarding its judicial sovereignty. Venezuela signed the Rome Statute in 1998 and incorporated it into law in 2000. Repealing the domestic law does not immediately withdraw the country from the treaty. Caracas must formally notify the UN, and withdrawal would only take effect 1 year later. Coming up next, Netflix Warner Brothers Discovery combo to lower costs for consumers. Netflix's proposed acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery's studio and streaming unit is expected to reduce streaming costs for consumers by bundling Netflix and HBO Max. By framing the acquisition as pro-consumer, the streaming giant aims to build a case that deal should withstand a potential regulatory challenge. Warner Brothers Discovery has been exploring a sale of all part of its business, which includes film and television studios, cable networks such as HBO and CNN, and the HBO Max streaming service. Other bidders, Paramount, Skydance, and Comcast also would use HBO Max, together with the Warner Brothers Film and Television information library to bolster their streaming services. A successful acquisition would give Netflix control over Warner Brothers' vast library of content, including the entire HBO catalog, the Warner Brothers Film Archive, and DC comic properties. But the sources familiar with the matter said the potential combination of the two services is unlikely to radically expand its market share. Amazon Web Services AWS has unveiled its new Trainium 3 AI chip, marking a major step in its bid to challenge NVIDIA's dominance in the rapidly expanding market for artificial intelligence computing. NVIDIA currently controls an estimated 80 to 90% of the chips used to train large language models behind tools like ChatGPT. The competition intensified last week when reports emerged that Meta will begin using Google's AI chips in its data centers shortly after Google released its latest AI model trained entirely on its own hardware. AWS said its Trainium 3 chip offers 4 times the performance of the previous version while using 40% less energy and will be offered to customers through its cloud platform. The company claims the chip is cheaper than rival products. Energy use has become a key concern in the AI race, with several major tech firms slowing or revising their net zero targets due to soaring power demands. AWS said early adopters already include Anthropic, the developer of the cloud AI assistants and a major competitor to OpenAI. European aircraft manufacturer Airbus said up to 628 A320 aircraft worldwide may require inspections following a newly discovered quality issue involving metal plates. However, the figure represents the total numbers of aircraft potentially affected and does not mean all units have defects. Airbus said the number scheduled for checks is decreasing daily as inspections progress and aircraft requiring specific action are identified. On Monday, Airbus confirmed it had detected a supplier-related quality issue, but said the problem is contained and limited to a small number of A320 fuselage panels. Airbus shares fell after reports of the quality concerns, which have already delayed deliveries of several A320 jets. The development follows a separate issue last week when Airbus said around 6,000 existing A320s must undergo a software upgrade before flying again after an incident in the United States. First introduced in 1988, the A320 remains the world's best-selling aircraft, with 12,257 units sold as of September. Australia is preparing to introduce a world-first social media ban for children under 16, a move the government said is urgently needed to protect young people from harmful online behaviour. Communications Minister Anika Wells said the ban, which takes effect on 10th December, is aimed at stopping children from being exposed to what she calls predatory algorithms that pull users into addictive online habits. Just hours before her address at the National Press Club, the YouTube publicly criticized the ban as rushed and unrealistic. Wells, however, maintained that platform must do more to keep young users safe.
Increasing the minimum age to have a social media account is not a cure. In 1 week, Australia will become the first country in the world to ban under 16s from having social media accounts. With one law, we can protect Generation Alpha from being sucked into purgatory by predatory algorithms described by the man who created the feature as behavioural cocaine. From the port racks.
The minister also moved to reassure parent concern about children's biometric data, saying the E-Safety Commission has strict guardrails to ensure information is deleted quickly. Whilst acknowledges that some teenagers will try to bypass the new rule, but said the focus is not on penalising young users or parents. Instead, the government wants social media companies to shoulder greater responsibility as part of a wider push toward a digital duty of care.
Bersihkan penapis penghawa dingin dan tetapkan 24 darjah Celsius untuk lebih jimat.
Israel's military said it shot dead 2 alleged attackers in separate incidents across the occupied West Bank on Monday. The Palestinian Authority identified the victims as 2 teenagers aged 17 and 18. According to the Israeli Defense Force, the first incident occurred near Hebron, where a female soldier was slightly injured in a car ramming attempt. Troops pursued the suspect, and the IDF said he tried to flee in a way that endangered the forces, prompting soldiers to open fire. The victim was identified as Muhammad Tariq Muhammad Al-Zagir, aged 17, and the second incident took place near Ramallah after surveillance cameras detected a man approaching the illegal Israeli outpost of At-Taret. When soldiers moved in to question him, the IDF said the suspect stabbed 2 soldiers, leading troops to shoot him. He was identified as Muhammad Raslan Mahmoud Asmar, aged 18. On the same day, the Israeli army also reported demolishing several homes belonging to Palestinians accused of involvement in attacks. On a lighter note, the Palestinian news agency WAFA said the Palestinian Red Crescent Society PRCS announced on Tuesday the opening of a medical rehabilitation hospital for injured and sick individuals of all ages and disability categories in Khan Yunis, southern Gaza Strip. The facility was inaugurated on Tuesday in the presence of a World Health Organization WHO delegation led by Luca Bigozi, who expressed readiness to provide further support to enhance rehabilitation services in the Gaza Strip. It has a capacity of 100 beds, which can be expanded to accommodate the increasing number of cases requiring specialized rehabilitation services. Meanwhile, PRCS Executive Director in the Southern Region, Dr. Haider Al-Qudra, said the opening of the hospital is an important step given the rising need for such services, especially due to the limited number of facilities in the field in the Gaza Strip. PRCS fully funded the construction of the hospital, while WHO contributed by providing equipment, furniture and several beds. In sports, Young Tigers failed to qualify Junior World Cup quarter-finals. Stay with us.
FIH Hockey Men's Junior World Cup Tamil Nadu 2025. Chennai dan Madurai bakal bergegar dengan aksi-aksi 24 pasukan hoki remaja daripada 5 konfederasi hoki seluruh dunia bagi memburu tahta kejuaraan. Nantikan pukulan-pukulan kencang dan aksi-aksi lincah dipamerkan. Dibawakan dari 28 November hingga 10 Disember di saluran OK Sukan RTM. Juga saksikan keseluruhan 72 perlawanan secara penstreaman langsung di RTM Klik. Bersama RTM, penyiar eksklusif.
The national men's junior hockey squad failed to qualify for the quarterfinals of the 2025 Men's FIH Junior World Cup when they lost 1-3 to England in the last Group E match at Madura International Hockey Stadium, Tamil Nadu, India on Tuesday. England got to a good start with a goal from Henry Markham off the penalty corner in the 4th minute, and Michael Rodden's 36-minute field goal put them in a commanding position. Azimuddin Kamaruddin managed to close the gap for Malaysia when he converted a penalty corner in the 47th minute, but England ensured victory with another field goal by Alex Chihota 3 minutes just before the final whistle. Holland had to top Group E earlier in the day after thrashing Austria 11-0 to secure 9 points. England second with 6 points, Malaysia third with 3 points, while Austria is last without any points. Malaysia had started off with a 5-1 victory against Austria on Saturday but lost to the Dutch 0-6 on Sunday.
Kita melepaskan banyak peluang di depan gol. Itu yang bezanya antara dia dan kita. Dan juga perlawanan hari ini agak tegang sebab pasukan GB ini perlukan gol, jaringan gol yang banyak dengan kita. Tapi bila kita memastikan benda itu tidak berlaku, jadi banyak perkara yang off the ball incident dan yang telah mengganggu perlawanan hari ini.
Only the top team of each group along the best 2 runners-up advanced to the quarterfinals, while the other 4 runners-ups and 4 of the best third-place teams will play in the 9th to 16th place classification matches. Elsewhere, the Netherlands and Spain sealed their qualification to the quarterfinals of the FIH Junior Men's Hockey World Cup 2025 with dominant wins in their final Group E group encounter. Australia had firm in its contest against the Dutch as the blazing afternoon began to give way to a cool evening breeze. The Jong Oranje eventually unleashed a burst in the third quarter, which helped them to control and beat Austria 11-0 in their Pool E encounter. The Netherlands will play Argentina in the quarterfinals after host India beat Switzerland 5-0. Austria will play the 17th to 24th classification rounds. In a Pool D encounter, 4 penalty corner goals from Bruno Avila and a top-class playmaking performance from Per Amat helped the Junior Red Sticks to a 13-0 humbling of a tournament debutant Namibia. Avila, the tournament's current leading scorer, slotted 2 penalty corners in quick succession for Spain in the first quarter, and the team never looked back. 4 goals conceded in the last 6 minutes sent Namibia's goal difference tumbling, putting it out of contention to make the 9th to 16th classification matches after Chile beat Oman. Spain will be pitted against New Zealand in the last 8. Erling Haaland made history as the Manchester City striker became the fastest player to reach 100 Premier League goals in a remarkable 5-4 win against Fulham on Tuesday. Haaland's clinical finish in the first half at Craven Cottage took him to his century in just 111 league appearances for City. He shattered the previous record set by former Newcastle and Blackburn star Alan Shearer, who took 124 matches to reach 100 goals. After Haaland's landmark, Phil Foden scored twice to help City race into a 5-1 lead. But Fulham scored 3 times in a furious second-half fight back that fell just short when Josh King's shot was cleared off the line by Josko Gvardiol in the final seconds. The result meant second-place City moved within 2 points of leaders Arsenal, who host Brentford in their game in hand on Wednesday. If City are to overhaul Arsenal and win the 7th English title of the Pep Guardiola era, they will need Haaland to maintain his astonishingly prolific form. Haaland had failed to score in his previous 3 games against Newcastle, Bayer Leverkusen and Leeds. Barcelona recovered to secure a 3-1 win over Atletico Madrid as goals from Rafinha, Dani Olmo and Ferran Torres handed the visitors their first La Liga defeat since August and extended the Champions lead at the top after an intense clash on Tuesday. The result puts Barca on 37 points, 4 ahead of second-place Real Madrid, who visit Athletic Bilbao on Wednesday. Atletico, arriving at Camp Nou on a 7-game winning run in all competitions, remain in 4th place with 31 points. Atletico struck first in the 19th minute through Alex Baena on the counter, but Rafinha equalised 7 minutes later with a close-range strike after killer through pass from Pedri. Barca's persistence paid off as Dani Olmo pounced on a loose ball inside the box and fired a low strike to score in the 65th minute, but injured himself in the process while Torres wrapped up the points by finishing off another counter-attack deep in added time. This was Barca's 5th consecutive Liga win after losing the Clásico against Madrid in October. Mexico will host Portugal in a friendly on 28 March 2026 that will mark the reopening of the renovated Azteca Stadium, now known as Mexico City Stadium, as it prepares to host matches at the 2026 World Cup. Mexico will also face Belgium at Chicago Soldier Field 3 days later as part of a pair of World Cup warm-up matches announced by the Mexican FA on Tuesday. Mexico's national stadium has undergone extensive upgrades, including new seating, hospitality areas, and media facilities, and will become the first venue to host matches at 3 World Cups after Mexico staged the tournament in 1970 and 1986. The iconic venue is set to host 5 matches at the 2026 tournament, co-hosted by Mexico, the United States, and Canada. The expanded 48-team World Cup kicks off on 11 June next year, with the group stage draw taking place in Washington, D.C. on Friday. Serena Williams has re-entered the tennis anti-doping testing pool, but the 23 times Grand Slam champion denied on Tuesday that the move had anything to do with her making a return to the sport she dominated for nearly 2 decades. The International Tennis Integrity Agency confirmed that Williams has not competed since the 2022 US Open, was among the list of players in its testing pool, which requires individuals to provide their whereabouts at any given time, every day, and participate in random testings. However, as the story of 44-year-old Williams' inclusion on the list, first reported earlier on Tuesday by The Athletic, gained traction and sparked talk about her potential return, the tennis great took to social media to deny a comeback was in her plan. Her agent did not immediately respond, asking why the players had re-entered the testing pool. Williams' name appears on the ITIA website's list of retired players and would be able to return to a sanctioned event after making herself available for out-of-competition testing for at least 6 months. Tiger Woods said on Tuesday his recovery from the disc replacement surgery he had in October was not going as fast as he would like, and that he was still far away from figuring out a playing schedule. The 15-time major champion, who also had surgery in March to repair a ruptured left Achilles tendon, added he got clearance last week to resume chipping and putting for the first time since undergoing the lumbar disc replacement surgery. Woods turns 50 on 30th December and will be eligible for the PGA Tour Champions in 2026, but he was not yet ready to say when or if he will compete on the senior circuit. Woods, who was supposed to make his TGL Season 2 debut in January 2026, also hopes compete next year in the indoor golf league he co-founded with Rory McIlroy, but not until closer to the end of the season. He suffered severe leg injuries in 2021 car crash, but returned at the 2022 Masters and finished 47th. The veteran superstar said while he had started chipping and putting, he was bracing for a lengthy rehabilitation from surgery. Alright, so that's it from us this afternoon. In our top story, Malaysia to resume deep-sea search for MH370. Malaysia Tonight comes on at 8:30 p.m. this evening on TV1 and MyTV's Berita RTM news channel. Thank you for watching.